But how do you stop Barcelona? They're such a dangerous side. 158 goals they have scored in all different ways. They are so deadly, so dangerous offensively. This is what Hansi Flick has put all of his chips on.
What were you thinking when in the minute 21 you were losing 2-0, and after that you have been received another goal, 3 goals? It's so many goals for this Barcelona. Do you think it is you have to improve in that moment?
Come on, this is you also can see that we are speaking about the semi-final in the Champions League, and there are four big clubs and great clubs, and also they are experienced, very matured team, and they show this today. And of course the set pieces are. They have 4, 5, 6 players over 190, and yeah, it shows.
Welcome back to Scoreline. Hansi Flick there speaking after the final whistle, and his side do love a high-scoring game, don't they, Ian? Enough to give the fans a heart attack, some of these results, but it does seem to work. So that poses the question, just how lethal is this team offensively, that they keep being able to do that?
Yeah, if we focus on the positives, this team creates so many opportunities, and in many ways the way the tactics work for Hansi Flick offensively is high pressure in the opposition half. If you go all the way back to his time at Bayern Munich, he did exactly the same thing when the team against him had the ball in possession in their own half. It was high pressure, win the ball in their half, immediately you're on the offensive. They don't understand what's going on so quickly, and all of a sudden you create an opportunity to get your goals. Bayern Munich won the Champions League that way as well. But this Barcelona is a little bit different. There's a lot of quality clearly in that lineup. If you were to compare, obviously there's youth in the lineup as well, and I just think that this Barcelona side is so dynamic, so pacey, so tricky to deal with defensively. In some ways we can give Inter respect for the way that they defended in this game, and they never changed their tactic defensively. Barcelona just had to find a way, and eventually the quality will always shine through. If you don't find that gap through the middle, you've got to be patient waiting for your opening. They eventually did do that. Obviously Lamine Yamal's goal at the time that it did come was so important for them to get back into the game, because they were 2-0 down in that game. That was a shock to the system. But Hansi Flick's team play their game. They never want to change. He doesn't want to change the tactics. And in many ways, I was saying to you during the game, I was like, how do you think Hansi Flick is feeling right now? Watching his side 2-0 down, they get a goal. How's he feeling when they're 3-2 down? They're still playing this high back line. But that's what he does. He wants to entertain. He wants to win the ball in the right areas. He wants to be offensive, and they're one of the most dangerous teams in European football right now. They've scored 158 goals, all comps.
Those numbers don't lie. More than 20 more than PSG. Absolutely incredible. It's
ridiculous.
Easy to play that way when you've got the likes of Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. Speaking about Lamine Yamal, obviously he made it to 100 games at Barcelona. That was celebrated despite the result after the final whistle, and there are these comparisons that continue to be made between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo in their first 100 club matches. Do you think now he's starting to reach a different level, Lamine Yamal?
Well, he just became the youngest ever goal scorer in the UEFA Champions League semi-final. He just took over from Kylian Mbappe and is a year younger. And I think what's happening to him so quickly in his career, he's played 100 games now for Barcelona. 100 games, and he's 17 years old. I can't quite understand it, but the game has got younger and younger and younger. Now the player that's in their prime is no longer 28, 29 years old. Now the player is now 23, 24 years old in their prime.
A great stat to put it into perspective. The original Ronaldo, he won the Ballon d'Or for the first time at 21.
Yes.
Yamal is 17, so he's got 4 years to try and do it. Do you think he does that?
I think he's on the right track. I mean, right now, what I've been asking for Lamine Yamal is to put the statistics back to his name, and this season it's been very good with what he's done with goals and assists. This is unbelievable, obviously, with the youngest players to have ever won the Ballon d'Or. The real Ronaldo at 21 years and 95 days is going to be very difficult to beat, but when you look at today's game being younger and Lamine Yamal playing 100 games and already having won the Euros and potentially finding himself in a Champions League final, obviously a treble is on the cards for him as well. He has every opportunity of putting himself into contention over the next year, maybe 2 years, of having his hands on that Ballon d'Or. One thing for sure, I'll tell you about Lamine Yamal. It is a lost art in today's game. When we witness what is happening around today's game, and this every single young coach is guilty of. They try to play defensively out of the back, from goalkeeper to centre back to midfield forward. It's trying to get an advantage in some way. It's almost taking the individualism out of the game, which means that players like Lamine Yamal are a lost art. They're a lost phenomenon. We don't see players like him anymore. He reminds me so much of a winger, an old-school winger, and I love wingers. Ryan Giggs, Georgie Best, yes, I mentioned Manchester United players. But old-school players that when they pick up possession of the ball, their initial thought is, what can I do to goal or get to the end line to create an opportunity? This kid has the freedom to go wherever he wants. And I don't recognise around the world where these players are anymore. Everyone wants to play tiki-taka football. They want to play out from the goalkeeper's position out to get an advantage. To me, this kid is a lost art. He is something that I think is missing from our game so much. So therefore, I think he's only a year or two away from winning it.
You've mentioned this many times when we've been watching Barcelona games. Often wingers are those wide players. The first thought for them is to stay wide, to hug the touchline. But for him, it's to cut inside, to get near the goal, go to the goal. And that's what's brilliant about Lamine Yamal when he's on form. We've spoken about this high line in a positive sense and the way that Hansi Flick lets his players be attacking and flood forward, and it clearly works. We've seen that from the stats. But there's also the other side of it. It is a risky tactic to play when you come up against a side like Inter Milan, who has a way of being able to get in behind you.
Yeah, and I think Inter recognised that there was going to be those opportunities. You utilise your pace.
It was a clear plan, wasn't it?
It was an absolute plan, and they used their fastest and quickest player to be able to get in behind every single time, and they couldn't stop at Barcelona. They didn't have the advantage. Again, I'll go back to it. Hansi Flick doesn't want to change his tactics. He tried to do the same at Bayern Munich, and it worked. He obviously won 6 trophies in one season. He won the treble at Bayern Munich, of course, with the major trophies as well. If you look at their backline, what he had at Bayern Munich, and obviously they went through the COVID season and won the Champions League, they had Davies, Alaba, Boateng and Kimmich along the back line. And if you were to compare that to what Barcelona obviously had in their lineup today, it's a little bit different, right? There's not as much pace. You've got Davies who can always get back and break up a play, and that happened time and time again in these ridiculous games that they had during that COVID season that they had in success. Martinez out of position, got taken off at half-time. Martinez went out to the left-hand side. He's not a left-back, struggled going forward, but obviously defensively not the quickest. Kubarsi is the one who can always rescue you, but he's the one who's the deepest player, always trying to play on that high line. And the plays that I just broke down for you there, you can see him hugging the halfway line as if he's been told by Hansi Flick, don't you dare drop back. Because naturally you're instinctive when the offense is coming at you and it's 3 against 2 or 4 against 3 and you're outnumbered, your natural reaction should be to drop off, drop deep, drop deep, drop deep, keep the game in front of me. Not this guy. This guy tells his players, play as high as you possibly can so that we can have an opportunity to win possession of the ball in their half. And in many ways, this will be the biggest problem for them as they go through the next leg, because Inter Milan almost mastered it. If they could figure out defensively to stop Barcelona scoring goals, they would have won that game. And they probably should have scored more than 3 goals in that game as well. In the second leg, they've already written out what the blueprint should be. Now, if Barcelona do get to the final, I think it plays out perfectly for a PSG who has hell of a lot more pace than what Inter do offensively. So I would be very concerned right now if I'm a Barcelona fan with that high back line they consistently play.
It is going to be intriguing going into the second leg if Hansi Flick sticks resolutely to those tactics. I mean, he's going to stick to the high line. He's done it all season. But will he stay exactly the way he has done in that first leg? I wonder. Another thing that as the game continued, you could clearly see that Barcelona were missing, and they were always going to miss Robert Lewandowski, of course. He's a brilliant player. But he was missing because of the fact they didn't have a target man. And as they tired going forward, you noticed those balls that were being chipped into the box. But they had no one tall enough to be able to head it. And that's what Robert Lewandowski gives you, is he gives this Barcelona team an outlet for the long ball forward and also the cross in from the wing. And they really, really missed him today.
They did miss him today, and it's not necessarily just that pinpoint striker that can get on the end of crosses into the box. It's also the hustle and the aggression that Lewandowski brings you. There would be no respite for Inter defensively if they won possession of the ball. Defensively, if you're trying to win the ball in the opposition half, Lewandowski does this work rate that Ferran Torres simply doesn't do. And then when you look at what happens offensively, there was maybe 3 or 4 times in that first period alone where Lamine Yamal floated the ball to the far post and Ferran Torres wasn't there. Well, you know that Lewandowski is going to be there. Now, Ferran Torres has had a remarkable season, double figures in La Liga, domestically, double figures for the first time ever in his career. He's scoring goals. But he's not the player that Lewandowski is on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the play. He's going to be a big loss for them in the second period as well. But how do you stop Barcelona? They're such a dangerous side. 158 goals they have scored in all different ways. They are so deadly, so dangerous offensively. This is what Hansi Flick has put all of his chips on, them scoring more goals than the opponent. And who's going to bet against them?
Yeah, it's poised at 3-3. Who will take the advantage at the San Siro? We'll have to wait and see.